everyone, and welcome to First Things First. I'm Jenna Wolfe. That is the Hall of Famer Cris Carter. This right here is Nick Wright. Happy birthday, America. You don't look a day over 243. Big show today. First of all, we're here, but for another reason. Kevin Durant's departure from the Warriors was a little messier than we thought. Ezekiel Elliott sidestepped another suspension. Feeling all patriotic with the music behind us. But we continue to start today's show the way we've started the last couple days, and that is with the Kawhi Leonard sweepstakes. The reigning finals MVP, pretty much the last free agent left standing, touched down in Toronto yesterday. Kawhi reportedly met with the Raptors, his last stop on his free agency tour. That included the Clippers and the Lakers. Mom's been the word from Kawhi's camp. Cris, who's in a fantastic mood this morning. You had the latest update last night. This is what you tweeted. A lot of premature reports out there. Kawhi has not made his decision as of yet. All three teams are still in play. Yes, Lakers and Clippers are as well. And I'm 100% certain of this. I wouldn't hold my breath on getting an answer anytime soon. Kawhi still undecided. See, $1 million question on everyone's mind. When will Kawhi sign?
I think he's going to make an announcement on Friday, and that hasn't changed from what we talked about this weekend, what we talked about Sunday before free agency opened, and what I think I announced on this show on Monday, that the process was it didn't start for him at 6 p.m., even though his camp and Magic, they made plans as far as having a discussion on Sunday. They planned on meeting with the Lakers and the Clippers on Monday and Tuesday in free agency. And then after that, they would meet with the Knicks and Brooklyn and then ultimately meet with Toronto. Given what happened with KD deciding early, him and Kyrie already had a deal going to Brooklyn, so that removes Brooklyn out of the chase. The Knicks were concerned about Kawhi when they would get to him and if they had a real chance. When they got information that they might not have the best chance to sign them, so they got out of it on Sunday. So then it became the meeting with the Lakers and the Clippers. We saw yesterday him deciding to go back to Toronto to meet with them. We are on what their scheduled plan was. I just think that the public, because this is a year like no other year we've seen in free agency, where we had more deals already done. We didn't get Kevin Durant visiting several teams. We didn't get LeBron James thinking about what he was going to do. No, these deals were already done, and it's affected how people think Kawhi should do things. Based on what they planned on doing, going to free agency, they are on schedule. Fortunately, unfortunately, the holiday comes right after the third meeting. So is that going to delay an announcement another day? But I know as of yesterday, 6 p.m., no team had an edge. And what I said in the tweet was exactly what was conveyed to me. I asked a few questions, but it was very, very direct as far as every team is still in it. They have a great deal of interest in the Clippers. There's a great deal of interest in the Lakers. And we knew the team that everyone has to overcome, that's Toronto. And the reason why, because Kawhi makes a lot of decisions based on trust. Why do I have the information? Because they trust me, because I've been knowing Kawhi since he left San Diego State and decided to come into the NBA. They've trust how I've reported it, and they trust that I'm going to get it accurate to what they say, not what my opinion is. Toronto has that over everyone. The doctors, the coaching staff, the city, he's comfortable. Kawhi trusts his career with the Toronto Raptors, and the Lakers and the Clippers are going to have to convince him and take some of that trust for him to decide to play basketball with them moving forward.
And so just to not necessarily clarify, but to making crystal clear, what was communicated to you yesterday was any reports that Kawhi is waiting to announce his decision, but he's already made his decision, are incorrect. That the idea, it is not that Kawhi is just elongating this process. It is that as of when you talked with them yesterday, he still didn't know where he wanted to go.
No, and I'm talking to the people who are the closest people to Kawhi Leonard.
Nick, are you surprised that he genuinely doesn't know? We sat here on the show the last 2 days and talked about how, if all things being considered, save for maybe organizational structure, the Lakers just appeared to be the front runners, in our opinion, in the opinion. Are you surprised that he genuinely, at this point, after knowing what he knows about all three teams, doesn't know where he wants to play next season?
I'm not, because this also isn't that different from what we've seen from the best free agents in other classes.
Yeah, this is just a different year.
It's 3 years ago today, July 4th, 2016.
Yeah.
Kevin Durant announced his decision at 8:59 a.m. Pacific time. I remember because I was filling in for Colin that day. So right before noon on Eastern time on July 4th, 2016. LeBron announced he was going back to Cleveland on July 11th.
Yep.
LeBron had the decision to go to Miami on July 8th.
But in both of those cases, you don't think they knew they had a better idea? It was less ambiguous where they wanted to go?
I think that
when LeBron made his decision last year, do you think it was like, do I really want to go to the Lakers or do I want to go to the Clippers? I think we all knew.
Well, but
he was gonna go to
LeBron, with the Lakers, he did it quickly. It was the Lakers' decision was quick.
It's not the LeBron decision to the Lakers. It's all
LeBron
the other ones
Cleveland.
that where the precedent has been. We're in the same time frame that they went through.
Right. And so Kevin Durant met with Russell Westbrook and other people, and then he met with the guys in the Hamptons, and he chose the Warriors. And he also met with Boston.
Yeah, he met with the Celtics.
He met with a bunch of teams. Kawhi, it would appear, is conflicted. Because I don't want to yada yada the negatives the Lakers have going against him. When Cris said the number one thing for him is trust. And with the Lakers, the biggest question mark is, who can I trust? That might be enough to trump that they are in the city he wants to be in, and they have the most talent. Like, that is why the only reason, to me, the Clippers are involved in this is because they have the same city as the Lakers without the trust deficit of the Lakers. The only reason Toronto has not already won this sweepstakes is because of location. It's not where he's from, and it happens to be, not only is it not where he's from, it's not like he just won a championship in Oakland or in Sacramento. It's as far from where he's from as you can get. This is a tough decision.
Yeah.
And so I'm not going to begrudge. I know we are in a society where anything that didn't happen in the last 6 hours is 4 news cycles ago. I'm not going to begrudge Kawhi Leonard on the most important professional decision he's ever made, because he's never been a true free agent, if he wants to take 96 hours on it. I mean, the free agency opened Sunday at 6 p.m. It's Thursday at 6:30 a.m. And people are like, geez, Louise, what's taking you so long? I don't think he knows where is the best for him, and there's no takebacks on this.
Right. And a lot of people think that it's taking so long because of how quickly the other free agents made their decision this year.
Yeah, of course. In the first 24 hours, the NBA spent $3 billion.
Yeah.
And everyone thought that Kawhi Leonard, like he should fall in the plan, like he should change his plan. This is a tremendous decision. There's a lot of information. The reason why he went to the Lakers and Magic Johnson was because of the trust factor, and Magic was going to be able to give the Lakers birth or kill the Kawhi to the Lakers immediately. If they didn't feel like those answers from Magic were consistent, and they've done a great job as far as interviewing people, and they kept the people apart. The way they interrogate people at the police station.
Yeah.
You and your brother, y'all committed a crime. Well, look, you go over here and you go over here.
Let me see if the answers jive together.
Absolutely. And also, they're testing these teams as far as the information and what they know, and to see who's going to leak some information, because that would affect Kawhi and his determination of how he's going to move forward. But I know as of yesterday, like, this is a very tough decision. And I thought, when they started, I thought he was going to have to make a difference between 2 cities. And I thought he'd have to pick one team in Los Angeles. I thought both teams would have an interview in New York. He'd have to pick one team here, and they would have to battle against Toronto. But from what I'm hearing, there are 2 teams in L.A. that Kawhi, from the beginning, said he would go to, even after requesting a trade to the Lakers. When they denied that, he said, I will go to the Clippers. He said that yesterday. In Toronto, that's where he has the most faith and the most trust as we speak.
Moving on to the Warriors. perhaps we'll never know the real reason Kevin Durant decided to leave Golden State, but his feud with Draymond Green was rumored to be partially to blame. And while both publicly said they patched things up from their November sideline verbal altercation, that may not be the case. According to Kendrick Perkins, quote, KD never bounced back from the Draymond situation. Nick, who's to blame for Durant's departure?
Shout out to Kendrick Perkins. This is good information. Also, Kendrick, you still owe me a little bit of money. You can send me that whenever you want.
But really, the information part.
All right.
Yeah, pay my guy.
Now, Kendrick and Kevin Durant are incredibly tight. And that's why I take this almost as gospel. And I watched this, and he gave a lot of comments on this. It said, for the first time I heard a specific quote from that exchange. It wasn't just that Draymond called Kevin Durant the B word. According to Kendrick, he said to him, you know you're a B word, which is even extra cutting if it's from one friend supposedly to another, the guy who initially recruited you there to another. So I understand why that this might have been looked at as the final straw. But the fact that this happened on November 13th of this season. The fact that 2 weeks into the season where you are going for a three-peat, where Kevin Durant is ostensibly going for his third straight finals MVP, 2 weeks into that season, you could be in a position where there is a final straw situation, shows you he was always leaving. This was always temporary. As soon as he got there, he started to regret choosing to go there. In fact, before he even got there, we know that from what he said he told Rich Kleiman, which is the day after he made the decision, July 5th, 2016, why did you let me bleep up my life? Like, Kevin Durant had a wandering eye and had regrets, rightfully or wrongfully, about choosing Golden State the moment he did it. So to all of a sudden place this at the feet of Draymond Green, Kevin Durant was looking for a reason to leave. Draymond might have given him the last reason, but Howard Beck, who I have tremendous respect for, reported that before this ever happened, KD and Kyrie were already talking about playing together.
I mean, there are rumors that almost as early as a year before that, the two of them were meeting up. We saw video of them in the hallway. Yes. A year before this altercation, the two of them talked about playing together. So I think it all sort of factors in.
Yeah, people try to say that we're going to treat people the same, but in pro sports, it becomes impossible. I remember when we went out and acquired Warren Moon, and we were in desperate need of a quarterback, and Warren Moon accomplished coming from Houston. When we signed him, Denny Green met with the leaders of the team, and we had a team council and everything. He said, I'm going to change some of the rules. On the road, typically everyone has a roommate, but that's not going to happen to Warren Moon. Warren Moon's an experienced quarterback in this league. I think Warren was 38, 39 at the time. He's not going to have a roommate. At training camp, he's not going to have a roommate. So I just want you guys to know, because I want to be semi-consistent with the things that I do. And I learned an awful lot from Denny Green. And years after that, you know who started getting that type of treatment? Chris Carter. You know who had the best parking space? Chris Carter. You know who had 2 to 4 sideline passes to every game? Chris Carter. You know whose family had the best seats? Chris Carter. And you know who has that in Golden State? Steph Curry. And the truth of the matter is, that wasn't the issue. That just happened to be the straw that broke the camel's back. But Kevin Durant, since the first championship, staring down LeBron James, that big shot, you and I seen, Nick, the ownership, the locker room, the coaching staff, everyone thought Steph Curry was always special. Kevin Durant could never rise to the level. They saw things that Steph would do things in film study, on and off the court, and they've been like, they don't say anything to Steph. And that bothered KD. So KD, even from the beginning, might have been questioning, should I come there? But once he got there and he started seeing the treatment of Steph Curry, and it was not the same as the treatment that he was getting, and then I just believe that his relationship, or lack of a strong relationship with Steve Kerr, because Steve Kerr didn't help the position. So it was a number of things. The treatment of Steph Curry was not parallel to the treatment that he was getting, and that he didn't see eye to eye with Steve Kerr and how they wanted to play basketball. So there were a number of things. I appreciate Kendrick. I told Nick, when they said this, he would never recover from it. I have never seen an athlete in exchanges like this. Oh, we might move on, but I will never forget what you said. And athletes take those words to heart.
And people get upset when I say this, but this is not speculation. I know this to be true. Durant has always measured himself up against LeBron. He's been chasing LeBron. He, for a number of years, has thought he's better than LeBron. And people looked at LeBron's move to Miami, not that dissimilar from KD's move to Golden State.
And I believe that to be a good thing.
Right. It's not a bad thing at all. But
Yes.
here's why I bring it up. After 1 year in Miami, after LeBron failed in the finals, after they lost, D-Wade went to LeBron and said, hey, man, it has to be your team. You have to be the guy. After 1 year in Golden State, when KD succeeded in the finals, won finals MVP, at no point did someone say to him, hey, KD, Steph didn't come to him and say, it has to be your team. We all have to follow you. And so there's an element of, you got to be kidding me. I did what he couldn't do, and he got the privileges that I will never get here. Those things matter to a guy who is as online as KD is, as in his head as KD is.
I was going to say, but Kevin Durant didn't fail. He went there and accomplished everything he wanted to accomplish there.
And did not get that's my exact point.
But maybe there was no reason for Steph. What he was looking for, there was never going to be that opportunity for Steph to say, it didn't work with me being the leader. You need to be the leader. I don't know what else he could have gotten there that he wasn't getting.
Well, that's why I don't
I'm going to tell you something, man, that's beyond money. And you and I, Jenna, talk about it. It's about respect. All right? And that ultimately, it might not be how much money you have, but let me tell you what Shannon Sharp and I talk about. I know Skip Bayless and Colin. I know they came here, established this network. But Shannon and I are going to get some damn respect. We're going to work hard for it. But ultimately, that's what the dollars will have to say, too. But the organization, the FS1, they have to appreciate what we're doing. And we didn't think so, we would go somewhere else. That's what KD's doing. They did not appreciate what he did, even though Clay got it established, Iggy got it established, Steph got it established. They would never honor Kevin Durant for being the marksman, the superstar, the most efficient scorer that we've ever seen. So ultimately, out of respect, that's why Kevin Durant's leaving. A lot of times it's not about money. It's not about championships. Do you respect what I do? But
here's the only place I'll push back on that. I don't think Golden State could have done anything more. This is why it was always a one in sports lifetime event of Durant going to that team that had that level of success with that good of a star player. Because you can achieve at that level. But that fan base never going to love you like Steph. The media is always going to question how important you actually are. The things that Kevin Durant needed were not going to be available to him from the Warriors. The things that Kevin Durant needed was a sense of validation from all of us that fairly or unfairly he did not get, and a sense, according to Marcus Thompson, of deep, undying friendship with Steph Curry. And Steph is just in a different place in his life. And this is any parent, anyone that's a young parent understands, once you are full-time dad or mom and professional, you ain't got a lot of time for friends. My wife gives me a hard time. She's like, you're not a great friend. You don't have a ton of friends. Man, I ain't got time for a bunch of friends.
Yeah, I can go to a game with you guys. I can go to dinner every once in a while, but I can't be going to the club with you and your wife.
Right.
I can't be hanging out late like that.
And so there's just and so what he wanted was there were so many buckets he could fill up so many troughs he could fill up his bucket from. But the one he wanted wasn't available to him. Mm-hmm. So all the championships, all the money, that wasn't filling what he needed. So this idea that if Draymond hadn't called him a B, he'd still be there, nah, man. Like, Cris...
All right, well, you know what? Let's wait and see. Let's wait and see if his friendship with Kyrie in Brooklyn is enough to fill up that final bucket for him. And maybe it won't be. Maybe he's going to be one of those guys who are just always looking for something that never fully grasps it. So we'll see.
I don't know anyone that leaves sports full. And I'm talking about the greatest of them all right? That's what life is about. It's a journey about people trying to get fulfillment, but thinking they're going to be full after they leave sports. No, that's not the case.
Long day at work, tough day at school, still stuck at the office? Treat yourself to the meal you deserve on demand from your favorite restaurant. Restaurants come to you with DoorDash. DoorDash connects you to all your favorite restaurants in your city. Ordering is easy. Just use the DoorDash app and choose what you want to eat, and your Dasher will bring it to you, wherever you are. Not only is that burger place you love on DoorDash already, but over 310,000 other amazing restaurants are too. DoorDash connects you with door-to-door delivery in over 3,300 cities and all 50 states across the United States and Canada. Order from your local go-tos or choose from your favorite chains like Chipotle, Wendy's, Chick-fil-A, and the Cheesecake Factory. Right now, our listeners can get $5 off their first order of $15 or more when you download the DoorDash app and enter promo code FTF. That's $5 off your first order when you download the DoorDash app from the App Store and enter promo code FTF. Again, that's promo code FTF for $5 off your first order from DoorDash. Back to the show.
Yesterday, there was reportedly no market for Demarcus Cousins, but recent reports have DeMar DeRozan recruiting Boogie to San Antonio to play with the Spurs. What do you think, Nick? Would Boogie be a good fit in San Antonio?
We talked about this. We said...
I think DeMar, he watched the show.
Maybe. Listen, we said it would be a good fit. We don't think they have we know they right now don't have the cap space. But if Boogie is going to be taking an exception, or maybe around the minimum, like, it doesn't look like there's a huge market for him. Stylistically, he fits what the Spurs do because he can pass so well from that position, and they have a need at center. I'd love that for him and for the Spurs.
First team to invent load management, San Antonio.
Yep.
Where else could you repair your image better than either Nick Saban or go to Popovich, right? That's where he should go. If they can fit him in, get him the money. I believe that year he tried to do, playing chess compared to playing checkers, let Pop and them repair his image there in San Antonio.
And the Spurs were the 7th seed last year, and the West about to be tougher. They might need a little infusion of talent.
Moving on, Andre Iguodala officially becomes a Grizzly on Saturday, but reports are the former Finals MVP could be flipped to the Houston Rockets. Nick, good play for Houston to go trade for Iggy?
So this is really intriguing for a number of reasons. Everyone thought Iggy was going to be bought out, but all of a sudden Memphis is seeing that there's enough teams want him. They might be able to get an asset for him. It would be really good for Houston. Remember, they tried to sign him as a free agent a couple years ago. He re-signed with the Warriors. But here's my question. If the Grizzlies can get an asset for Andre Iguodala, why did the Warriors have to attach a first-round pick to get someone to take Andre Iguodala? You follow me? Like, there's something amiss here. If he gets bought out, I think he ends up with the Lakers. Daryl Morey and the Rockets know that, so they might trade something to make sure he can come there and pay him that $17 million.
At this point in the season, of the year, if you can get a guy that's going to be ready for the playoffs, can log those types of minutes, and man, he is a great locker room guy. We had West here talk about things that he kept under the radar. You saw Kevin Durant with the spat with Draymond. Who was talking to him? Iggy was talking to him. So, man, I'm a big fan of the way he goes about his work.
All right, moving on. Kyle Korver is headed to the Phoenix Suns via trade, but Phoenix plans to waive Korver, making him a free agent. The Lakers, Bucks, and Sixers are front runners to land the sharpshooter. Nick, where does Korver best fit in?
I actually think he best fits in with the Bucks, but and the Sixers desperately could use the spacing, but he's going to be a Laker. Kyle Korver been in this league as long as LeBron's been in the league, is one of the elder statesmen. Going to go to L.A., take the veteran minimum because he's getting bought out and try to win a championship. You have very few guys who have ever spoke as highly of an experience playing with LeBron as Korver did about his experience playing with him in Cleveland.
And LeBron changed some of his game. He took some shooting lessons from Kyle on his free throws, spent a lot of time personally with him. Anytime you have legendary players like LeBron, you're going to have veteran players, man, who have been playing off somewhere else, and they're going to decide, you know something, I've made a hell of a lot of money. Let me try to win a championship with one of the all-time greats.
And Korver owes LeBron one for missing that corner
three. Oh, my goodness, before Durant hits that dagger.
Before Durant's Game 3, 2017. Still
Nick
not over it. You know what?
Ending with Kawhi Leonard. According to reports, Kawhi planned on meeting with the New York Knicks on Wednesday, the same Knicks team that struck out on KD and Kyrie. Well, apparently they turned down an interview with Kawhi for fear of missing out on other free agent targets. See, did the Knicks make the right move turning Kawhi down for a meeting?
The Knicks were in a tough position, and And the Knicks, everything changed when Kevin Durant got injured. Because I remember talking to people around the league, specifically with the Knicks. And before Kevin Durant got hurt, it was almost a done deal that he was coming to New York to the Knicks.
Yep.
Once he gets hurt, the conversations continue with Kyrie. The Knicks express to KD they have some issues with Kyrie. Didn't believe he was a max player, and some other things off the court they were concerned about, and his body, his knees. So KD decides that he's going to go to Brooklyn. Kawhi Leonard, 3 weeks ago, was still playing basketball. It's only been 21 days. So he was not thinking about all these other things, all these other players. He didn't have all these other conversations that when it struck 6 p.m. East Coast time on Sunday, that he could start the process. He actually started then. They started reaching out to Magic's people on Sunday, but he knew he wasn't going to meet with the first team until Monday, second team probably Monday night or Tuesday, third team about Wednesday, and it was a 5-team in the hunt at the time. Once Brooklyn gets out of it, it becomes 4. The Knicks had to make a decision. Do we wait till Wednesday with all these free agents? And I knew Julius Randle was their number one target if they couldn't land Kawhi or KD. Knowing that the meeting wasn't going to take place around the NBA, it was like, this is going to be a free agency like no other. You can't sit around and wait. So they had to be able to make the decision, and the Knicks called some people who they thought might know what Kawhi was going to do, and in those conversations, people expressed to them in that meeting on Wednesday, you are going to be a long shot to be able to land Kawhi Leonard. Now, Kawhi is taking the meeting for a number of reasons. And yes, you are. If he's meeting with you, you do have a chance. But they were informed on Sunday that it would be a long shot. Now, they were in Los Angeles just in case. But after the KD thing started rolling and the free agents, we knew Klay was going back to Golden State. Kyrie was gone. Kawhi waiting on him. They couldn't do that. And they decided to strike, and they had the 5 players that they were going to target, and they went out and got 4 of them.
Okay, so here's the thing, and this jives entirely with what you said before our vacation, right before the week before free agency, which was that the Knicks were one of the teams Kawhi was going to meet with. Nobody else was saying that. You also had the Nets on that list, said it was 5 teams. The Nets obviously removed themselves for good reason. The Knicks, with respect to the people running that operation, who I think are smart basketball people and I have a ton of respect for, I don't understand this. Because you could have signed Julius Randle and still had the cap space carved out for Kawhi. Here's what it is. After signing Julius Randle, they signed Bobby Portis for 15, Reggie Bullock for this per season, Reggie Bullock for 10, Taj Gibson for 10, and Wayne Ellington for 8. So if you simply remove Bobby Portis, Wayne Ellington, and one of the other 2, there's your max cap spot sitting in holding for Kawhi. None of those guys are going to be the difference between the Knicks being a great or very good team this year or an average team. Those guys are placeholders. It's why they are on 1+1 team option contracts. The opportunity cost for some, if it was, hey, Kimba will come, but you've got to sign him now, and you've got a 2% chance at Kawhi, then you sign Kimba and you deal with it. But if what it could cost you is Wayne Ellington, Reggie Bullock, and Bobby Portis just to get in the room with Kawhi, just to try to sell him on your vision, you do that.
I totally disagree with you because I believe that the intel that they have, and then once you sign Julius Randle, there's not enough spacing on the court. Your plan for Kawhi is not. You want to sign either KD and Kawhi, or Kawhi, but then you got to get some space on the court. So you can't I understand the money if you're thinking about, we're talking about from basketball philosophy standpoint, though. You can't sign Randle and think you're going to sign or have a chance to sign Kawhi because Kawhi's not going to be happy with signing Julius Randle compared to some of the other free agents. Like he would have preferred a guard or something else compared to Julius Randle. So if you get word you don't have a chance, at some time, man, you got to play the smart bet. I know you're a gambler, but, man, there's certain people that the Knicks talked to that told them they had a long shot to no shot, and they decided to go with that plan. So I can understand the numbers they might work out, but how they wanted to play basketball with Fizdale after you decide to go with Julius Randle, it's limited as far as what you have to do to piece the rest of that team together.
The one part of that long shot, no shot, to me are two very different things. If he's going to take the meeting, I'm going to believe it's a long shot, not no shot. And if it's 1 in 50, 1 in 50, 2%.
If the Knicks would happen to call my number, 954-39, if they would have called my number, I would have told them I would move on.
Okay. And that
if they would have called me, I would have told them I would go out and get several players compared to being contingent upon waiting on this. I mean, this also probably has to do with the fact that even if Kawhi was never going to meet with them, I don't know that I would have signed Ellington, Reggie Bullock, and Bobby Portis. Yeah, that's fine.
And so I feel like what the players they ended up signing that they would have missed out on, they might have been better off missing out on even without meeting with Kawhi Leonard.
All right, let's move and talk some football now. Ezekiel Elliott, the Cowboys all-pro running back, was informed yesterday that he will not be suspended by the NFL. Zeke was involved in an incident at a Las Vegas music festival back in May where he pushed a security guard. So Zeke can now put that behind him, perhaps learn a lesson or two, and focus on training camp, which kicks off July 26. See, what's the Cowboys' outlook now that Zeke has been cleared to play?
This is the thing with the Cowboys, and how they do things internally is a little bit different. You know, because to me, if I'm Jerry Jones, I'd be terrified. Every time Ezekiel Elliott's name was associated with anything outside of football, it would terrify me because he's already been suspended. So how do I move forward like as if nothing happened? And I just don't know. And Dallas has not shown to me that when players are in this situation, that they challenge them to absolutely just go the other way. I told Nick this a number of years ago. It's not something that I'm proud of. But there's a number of guys, when they get drafted, I can tell you that they will end up at Park Avenue in Roger Goodell's office. I can guarantee it.
Multiple times sometimes.
I told Nick, Ezekiel Elliott, man, he's an edge guy, man. He's edgy off the field. He going to end up in Roger's office. Now, unfortunately for him, now he's been there twice. So I'm not surprised by it, how Dallas is going to go about operating. He's their most important player. Now, I don't know what type of advice you give to your most important player besides avoiding these physical confrontations, avoiding trying to intimidate women, these things. Like, no, Zeke's decision-making has been very, very questionable. I just don't know what Dallas is going to do about it moving forward, if anything.
Zeke, though, if you're talking football and on the field, is the constant. You know what you're going to get from Zeke. I don't think the Cowboys are going to be concerned that it's going to affect anything on the field. I feel like the one variable on the field would be their quarterback position, which is the one position you don't want to have a variable. I don't think you worry that Zeke is going to have any effect on the field.
You worry
that he's going to get in trouble
again. He's going to do this and he's going to be pulled off the field.
No, Dallas is trying to make a decision if they give him this extension.
Giant money. I'll tell you this much what I would do just quickly. If I were Dallas, I wouldn't play him week 1. Okay, good. We're glad you didn't get suspended. The commissioner's not going to take you off our team for a month. You're not even going to lose any money. I wouldn't play in week 1. You're at home against the Giants. That's either Daniel Jones or Eli Manning. You're a touchdown favorite. You should be able to win that game anyway because you are right, Jenna. On the field, they have to have him. On the field, long term. On the field, he is their constant. And if you going to learn a lesson from not getting in trouble? You're going to learn a lesson from being caught on video, following this lady around and then menacing and bumping into a security guard. And the lesson is, I met with the commissioner, nothing happened. And so the Cowboys with the collective bargaining agreement, it's tough what they can do. What they can do is this. He can be a healthy scratch week 1 and see it taking the playing time away because they have to have him. Well, I think the Cowboys can be the best team in their division, but they have to have Zeke, and they have to know they're going to have Zeke long term.
Let me school y'all on something about team sports. You got 53 guys in that locker room. You got 20 coaches on the staff. You got another 8 to 10 guys on the practice squad. So you getting ready to punish all them because Zeke went to a music festival. We getting ready to Tyron Smith, the left tackle. We getting ready to punish him. What did he do wrong?
Well, how do you help ensure that it doesn't happen again?
I'm just telling you, you can't take him and punish the other guy. You punish the quarterback. You punish the defense if you remove the player.
So what
if
would
he
you
is
do?
within the confines of the rules of the league, you can do something to him as far as take his money away. You can do something as far as at the facility. But you can't penalize the rest of the team.
Well,
it's just not great leadership. Because what did Dak do? Did Dak do something that he would?
But can I ask you a question about that, about punishing the rest of the team? And maybe this is just cliche. Maybe it is, so you can tell me if this never actually happens. But you see, I feel like almost in military movies, but also in sports, things like that, where a guy screws up, everyone else has to run.
Yeah, in high school. They do that in high school. They do it a little bit in college.
So
Someone jumps offside, but you're in pro. Every man's in business for himself. Every man is responsible for his own actions. So on some spring night, some guy is off somewhere. Now I'm getting ready to get punished for it. Randall Cobb, his first game as a Cowboy, he getting ready to get punished for it. You can't run a team like that in pro sports. It's not done that way. People think that's old high school stuff. You know something? Everybody on the ground, everybody doing push-ups. Yeah, that's kid stuff. But when you're grown men, you expect people to act like grown men, and you treat them like grown men. So what they should do is take away his money. They should fine him. They should do something to him. If the league doesn't do it, it's up to the team to be able to do that, and the team has the power to be able to do that.
All right, back here, first things first. We're now joined by Sports Illustrated senior NBA writer Chris MANNIX. Happy holiday.
What up, man?
Happy
Chris
holiday.
MANNIX.
I'm just here to try to learn about Kawhi.
Well, this is the place to be,
I'm here
apparently.
I'm here.
Oh, you're smart, though. You follow me on Twitter
I do.
already.
Alrighty.
I do.
Chris picked up a couple other follows.
Yeah, they're a little late. You know,
Late to the game?
Shorter bus, but you know what I'm saying? They got there.
Let's talk some Boston Celtics.
Hey.
Before we talk Kawhi. Different vibe in Boston this year. The Celtics of last season don't look like the Celtics of this coming season. Kyrie Irving is now in Brooklyn. Terry Rozier is now in Charlotte. Al Horford is now in Philly. Not to worry, said Boston, as they signed Kemba Walker to a 4-year, $141 million deal. And Enes Kanter to a 2-year, $10 million deal. And they'll be happy they didn't have to do a complete rebuild. MANNIX, are the Celtics better or worse now?
I mean, they're worse. I don't think you can look at it any other way. I mean, in a vacuum, I would say flipping out Kemba for Kyrie is better for them, just because of the locker room aspect of it. I don't think Kemba's a better player than Kyrie Irving, but the toxicity of the locker room last year and Kyrie's part in it. Kemba's a great locker room guy. He's a great teammate. He's a great everything.
Close enough in Kyrie's skill set that if you believe Kyrie was just terrible in the locker room and that Kemba will be good, you can make that argument.
Yes, completely.
Yeah, I think it's even more so because the relief that the other players, knowing that someone is completely bought in, there's a different set of trust, and it's so much more empowering. So, yes, he's not the same basketball player, but as an organization, it just gives them a breath of fresh air in how they're going to move forward, knowing at least that everyone is rowing in the same direction.
Yes, and he's going to come in there having won nothing in his professional career and have a different attitude than Kyrie Irving, who had won something in his professional career. The Al Horford part is just the killer. Like, you lose Al Horford and you trade away Aaron Baines to create the cap space to sign Kemba Walker, and you replace him with Enes Kanter and whoever they signed from France the other day, like, then Daniel Tice is back into the mix. The strength of this team defensively was their front court. It was Baines and Horford. If you look back at the numbers they've had in the last 2 seasons, they have been among, if not the best defensive team in the league when those two guys shared the front court. I asked an assistant coach after Kanter signed to tell me where he was weak defensively, and I got like a manifesto back. It was like this long text message of all the ways that Enes Kanter can be exploited on the defensive end of the floor, and they don't really have a replacement. I mean, Tice is a nice player coming off the bench. Gerson Yabusele, okay. But they're going to have to figure out a way to be middle of the pack defensively in that front court to have a chance to let their offense carry them throughout the regular season.
Well, and because this is what I want people to know about Enes Kanter. He only played 24 minutes a game last year, but let's just do the per 36, which isn't always fair, but just so people have an idea. If he could play defense, he would play around 36 minutes a game. Per 36, he would give you 21 and 15. He is an exceptional offensive player. And the reason he's never been on a good team or never played big minutes on a good team is he is historically, as far as recent NBA, in the argument every year for the worst defensive big man in the league. He is a guy who is, if he's out there, they're going to run a pick and roll at him every play until the coach takes him out. Now, he showed some ability in the playoffs briefly where he seemed to momentarily for Portland have fixed some of those issues, at least to where he was passable. That is what Boston's going to have because, and I appreciate your candor on this. Not that you're always honest, but I appreciate the real. That's I said that wrong. Your realism is maybe the better way to put it, which is what has been Boston's identity since Brad Stevens got there. Defense. That is, and they still have Smart and they still have Brown, but now their job is so much harder because there is no back line. And who are you going up against in the East? Giannis didn't go nowhere. Embiid didn't go anywhere. Horford's now on the team with Embiid. And so that is, for Boston, the killer in all of this. I mean, hell, the Raptors still have Marc Gasol, even if they lose, and Pascal Siakam, even if they lose Kawhi Leonard, Boston is now a team that, to me, is pretty obviously a less talented version, worse defensive version of a team last year that was not good enough.
But last year, they were a very talented team on paper, and the expectations were skyrocketing for where they were going to go. And by all accounts, they failed, and they didn't work. This year, sure, they're less talented on paper. Is it possible this is a better team for Brad Stevens to coach? Because a lot of the things we talked about last year was that just wasn't the right team for him to coach, or he couldn't get the most out of those guys because of their various agendas.
I hope not for his career. I hope his legacy is not based on I get the more out of teams that aren't as talented, because ultimately in this league, it's about talent. And he's going to have to be able to coach talented players or groom younger players that ultimately become those leaders. The NBA is about talent. We're not going backwards. He's not going to run no Butler system that we're not going to catch on to, or that he can plug a 2-star, a 3-star. He can have fifth-year guys. No, that's not going to happen. I know they're a worse team than what they were, but the pressure falls on 3 people. Brad Stevens, number 1. He's got to be able to make the adjustments, be able to get more out of less than what he had. And Jaylen Brown and Tatum, they have to develop into superstars on both ends of the court. They had the luxury where they didn't have to always play offense. They didn't have to always play elite defense because they had so many talented players. And the last thing, Brad Stevens is going to have to, with his guy, Gordon Hayward, what's going to happen? And if he is not up to speed, if he's not athletic, are they still going to try to force those minutes on Gordon Hayward, because that will affect the rest of the locker room?
Yeah, I agree with you. A couple things I think are the big variables as we speak right now about Boston is when they get to the season, how capable is Jason Tatum of playing power forward? I mean, not for the entire game, but for 15, 20 minutes. I mean, look, I think height-wise he can do it. He's got to continue to fill out that body in the offseason to be able to withstand the pounding. If he could play power forward for 20 minutes per game, I think they might be onto something with their own version of the death lineup. If he can't, the problem that still remains in Boston is that you've got 2 guys or 3 guys for two slots. And this was a problem last year.
Brown, Tatum, Hayward for 2 spots.
So if you do have to move off somebody, and let's say it is Jaylen Brown, what do you get back in return from him? Maybe you can turn him into something in that front court that makes them a more complete team. I do think, though, they're going to start fast. I think they're going to have the type of team where they'll jump out the gates with a great record. May not be as built to win in the postseason, but in the regular season, I think they'll start pretty fast.
All year long, I was saying Kyrie's going to leave. And I thought they were going to get nothing for him. One of the reasons I was so down on the Celtics is I thought Kyrie's going to leave. They ended up getting Kemba for him. So that, if they had kept Horford, then, yes, it's not AD with Kyrie, but still, Kemba and Horford and the young guys, that is a legitimate team out east. Why were they caught flat-footed on Horford? Why did how did the Horford thing happen to where he opted out? We all thought he opts out because he's going to just sign long-term with Boston, slightly less per year, but more guaranteed. Why did they not know a year out or at midseason? We better lock him up now. What happened?
I think the short answer is that they didn't believe that there was the type of offer that Horford got, which is going to take him to age 37, that would be available to him. But Philadelphia, win now mode. They don't care what happens 3 years into that contract, at least not as much as they care about what happens those first 2 years. They didn't believe that offer would be on the table.
FS1 is your destination for the day's best sports shows. Tune in for the biggest personalities on the biggest stories. We get you started right here on First Things First. You can catch it all Monday through Friday.
Who gets the
only on-
knucklehead started,
I
Jenna?
get you both knuckleheads started on.
And put some respect on her
too.
name,
I'm talking about
Jenna
us
Wolfe.
I'm just here so I don't get fined.
RESPECT, back here with Chris Mannix, and we are on what feels like day 85 of the Kawhi watch. He touched down in Toronto yesterday, reportedly met with the Raptors to discuss possibly coming back. See, you had the latest update last night, tweeting a lot of premature reports out there. Kawhi has not made his decision yet. All three teams are still in it. Yes, Lakers and Clippers are still in play, and I'm 100% certain of this. I wouldn't hold my breath on getting an answer anytime soon. Kawhi still undecided. Mannix, are the Lakers in trouble if they don't get Kawhi?
Oh, I think the Lakers. I think it, not to be too hyperbolic, but it's the difference between maybe winning multiple championships.
That was a good report right there, though.
It was. Are we required to?
No, I was like, man, that.
Very.
All right. Oh, hold on.
See,
I was rolling there.
No. All right, so hold on. Let's start over.
Be
Get back where you were.
hyperbolic. Go ahead.
Not to be
Not
too
to be
hyperbolic, but
hyperbolic.
I think it could be the difference between winning multiple championships in the LeBron AD era and winning 0 championships in that era. Simply because if they don't get Kawhi Leonard, they're basically scrapping for whatever's left over. Maybe they go sign Marcus Morris, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, insert Clutch Sports client here. Like, there's just a bunch of guys that might be available that you just take because they're there. But that's not going to get you a championship this year or even close to it. And next year, when you look at the 2020 free agent class, there isn't a star that you can add to that mix unless you think Draymond Green is the star that you can put in that situation. So now you're looking ahead to maybe 2021 when it is a deep free agent class and you can get that third star. So yes, next summer you could flesh it out with, some solid role players.
Yeah.
But it's also another year where LeBron's older. Right. And it's another season that goes by where he doesn't win a championship.
Well, so if you have to have 3 stars to win a title, then obviously if they miss Kawhi, they can't win one this year and they wouldn't be able to win one next year because you're right, there are no stars. Draymond's not a star. Draymond's a star in his role, in his system, with his organization, but that is not something you just plug and play anywhere the way you would with most all-NBA level players. But we're not in that NBA anymore. And this is not ideal, obviously. The day they traded for Anthony Davis, I felt they were the favorites because either they would get a star or they would get those really good role players that we talked about. Patrick Beverley, maybe Darren Collison before he retired, Seth Curry. But all those guys are gone now, so I understand that. But tell me this. In 2019-20 NBA, knowing KD's out, Clay's not going to be there for part of the year. We know let's just assume Kawhi goes to Toronto. This starting lineup, LeBron, call him point guard, point forward. Kuzma, Andre Iguodala, Marcus Morris, Anthony Davis. With coming off the bench, Quinn Cook, Kyle Korver, Justin Holiday, and then you said clutch guys, JR comes into the fold as well. Maybe Pau Gasol or JaVale McGee as your backup center. That's not right there for a championship compared to the rest of the league when you have the best duo in basketball and not an ideal rotation, but everyone I mentioned there is available. I didn't even include Danny Green because if Kawhi goes to Toronto, I think Danny would go with him as well. You don't think that right there is one of the best teams in basketball?
No, I think it gets you into the playoffs in the Western Conference, but you're just looking at this stuff on paper and saying like, all these guys look like they could fit. Andre Iguodala at 30 whatever years old
36,
is going to fit into that mix. Marcus Morris, I like Marcus Morris a lot in terms of his toughness, but is he the shooter that you need? Had a good first half of last season as a shooter. And then fell off a cliff there. So I think it has like some decent names there, but we had some decent names last year in Los Angeles. And granted, you didn't have Anthony Davis there in that mix, but Rondo was a good name. Lance Stevenson was a name. I mean, you had some guys that you plugged into that rotation that had talent and had success in the NBA, but not team success. I don't think I would put them well behind the Utahs and Portlands and even Golden State.
Isn't Utah a team on paper right now? Isn't Utah? We haven't seen Mike Conley.
Utah addressed weaknesses. Utah addressed specific weaknesses to their team and got better in those aspects. Mike Conley is an upgrade over Ricky Rubio. Bojan Bogdanovic is an upgrade of what they had the 3-4 spot. So they didn't revamp anything. They just upgraded what was around their 2 stars.
I think both of you make some great points. I think that your point as far as next year the struggle, that would be real. And that would be just like LeBron experienced in his first year there in Miami. Like he's going to have some hodgepodge as far as the rest of that lineup. I think your point as far as the NBA has changed. We can't think. We're not going through the Golden State the last 3-5 years. And even Golden State with their top two, with Clay being hurt, this is going to be a total different NBA. My perspective is, being in the Western Conference, how many series can this team withstand of being pushed to the max? Not being together, not having that chemistry, because you're still going to have some workload management with AD and with LeBron as you go through the regular season, and that's not the roster that's equipped to be able to handle them being out. So I think it's very important for the Lakers in this era with LeBron, if they are going to get the most out of it, it's important they do something in year two with Kawhi. And I think your point, multiple championships to potentially no championships, I believe that's real, and that's on the board.
But as far as we go out west, because I do not think the team that I just laid out for you is a 59-win team. I don't think it's a team that can be the first or second seed out west. But in a playoff series, we don't have to go to year 8 LeBron or year 10 LeBron. Let's just go to the last time we saw LeBron in the playoffs. Year 15 LeBron. Now, I know this will be year 17. We saw him with no teammate within a country mile of Anthony Davis stare down guys with better rosters because they could not match him in the postseason. I look out west, and I think Utah's got an awesome starting five. When I said they're just on paper, I actually really do like Utah. I agree with you. Donovan Mitchell, Joe Ingles, Bogdanovich ready to stare down LeBron and AD in a playoff series. I'll believe it when I see it. CJ and Dame ready to stare down LeBron in a playoff series. Golden State, the last time they had to stare down LeBron in a playoff series with a better team but without Kevin Durant, they ended up going home on the wrong side of it. I like the Rockets a lot. We know their struggles in the playoffs, at least historically, fair or not. It's just against the Warriors. I don't know that there's a team in a series, forget having the best player on the court, that would have one of the two best players on the court out west. I think that plays in the Lakers' enormous favor.
Well, look, I get what you're saying, but first of all, year 15 LeBron and year, 17 LeBron
17,
this year?
It's a one-year gap.
But I think there could be, coming off a major injury, there could be even more of a slide in the next year. And yes, that Cavaliers team wouldn't have the star power of an Anthony Davis, but it was built around LeBron.
It was rebuilt 4 times that year.
Okay, but it was built with the type of players that fit LeBron James, the shooters, the George Hill types. They built a team around one player's strengths. What you're talking about with this Laker team, that what it could be this year without Kawhi, is what's left over. It's not like you're going out there strategically picking players that fit alongside LeBron and Anthony Davis. You're picking players who are just available to go out and sign.
And I think both of you have tremendous question marks. Before we went into free agency, what was the Lakers' skill level going to be in adding this key guy? Who's good at shooting threes? Who is just a defensive specialist? Who, as a point guard, who's going to be the backup center? We both have questions as far as, are they going to be able to do that, which really supports your case that now with all those guys being gone, how can you do a good job when you only got scraps to build a pick
And
from?
I love Frank Vogel, one of my favorite coaches in the NBA, but he's a variable in all this too. Like, how does Frank Vogel put all this together? Like, all those big personalities. And you would probably, I'm assuming, Nick, that the guys they're signing, you're talking like 1+1 type deals just as last year. I said this on this show this time last year, that a bunch of mercenaries isn't going to work. Like, everybody kind of has their own interest when they're signing one-year deals. That, to me, is another factor in all this.
If you follow Patriots All-Pro tight end Rob Gronkowski on the gram, like I do, you know he's thoroughly enjoying retirement for now. The 3-time Super Bowl champ is nearly 20 pounds down from his playing weight. But don't count him out just yet. Gronk jokingly said, "Call me when you get to the playoffs." See, with the team as presently constructed, how much better would the Pats be if Gronk returned?
Man, Gronk can't return. What'd you say? You follow him on the gram? What's he looking like on the gram?
He's a little svelter than he was before.
Oh, okay. When you watch Gronk, what does Gronk do that's graceful? Nothing.
Nothing. He uses that size.
Yeah, and you can't go through or not work out. You know the reason why? I tried this. I retired after 15 years in the league, took a great broadcasting job, HBO Inside the NFL, Bob Costas, Dan Marino, Chris Collinsworth, my first gig. Dolphins, week number 4, I think, Monday night, they get 2 receivers banged up in the Monday night game in Denver. Man, Rick Spielman, the general manager of the Vikings now, was in control of their football operations, called me the next morning. Hey, Chris, how you doing? I said, I didn't even say hello. I said, you're not calling me to see how I'm doing. He was like, yeah, how's your family? Oh, my family's great.
Let's get to the point.
What do you want?
Right.
Did you watch the game last night? Yes, I saw Chris Chambers get hurt. I saw Rondé Gatson, break his wrist. What kind of shape you in? Basketball shape. I can't play no football. He was like, what do you think about potentially just maybe in the red zone, third down? I was like, oh, yeah, ego jump. Oh, yeah, I can do that in my sleep. I can absolutely. That's worth having a conversation. Went to my bosses there at HBO. They were like, we're all for it. No players ever broadcasted live doing the show and played. It's like, oh, I went for that sucker move. That Miami Heat, those first few days of practice, me being a workout warrior, regimented I wasn't ready to play in the NFL. So, Gronk, don't do this to yourself. Don't do this because I almost killed myself, literally. 5 weeks later, I'm end up in the hospital, my kidney function at 20% because I hadn't put my body through the proper things that you need to be. You need to have some respect for the game and how you got to be who you are. And realize you're not walking off some sofa, out of some house, living some type of lifestyle, any type of way, and walking into the NFL and trying to have some type of impact.
And tell me if I'm wrong, see, even if Gronk hadn't lost these 20 pounds, it's not just, let's just say he was working out every day. If your mind is retired, it's not just getting your body in shape. You've talked about how you had to get yourself mentally prepared for what you were about to do to yourself and to others on that football field. And that mentality compared to the mentality of Gronk living his best life as a young 30 in retirement, rich, doing media tours, doing all these different things. Even if he got his body right, getting your mind right when he's saying for the playoffs, call me for the playoffs. Listen, if you could transport the Gronk that left the field in the Super Bowl, made the biggest plays in the game against the Chiefs, then made the biggest plays in the game against the Rams to week 16 of this year, then of course that would make the Patriots much better. They need a tight end. I'm looking at their tight ends. Ben Watson. I have tremendous respect for Ben Watson. Ben Watson, he made an unbelievable play in the 2005 divisional game against the Denver Broncos. That's their tight end. Matt Lacoste, who was a street free agent this year. You got to go down that list before, and you're not going to find a name. So of course they need him, but even if his body got ready, would his mind be how do you get your mind ready? I don't know.
And it's not just can your body get ready, right? You want your guy to show up at training camp. You want your guy to get the reps. You want your guy to get into, even if you've been doing it for so many years, you got to build up that momentum, that body, all of it to have the mental and the physical stamina to get back into a football game.
There's a process in being an NFL player. And there's even a more strenuous process in being a great one. And it's very, very regimented. It's very, very methodical. And I'm going to tell you what the 4th of July. 4th of July don't mean the same thing for NFL players. Let me tell you what it means. It means that's the last vacation you're going to get a chance to spend some quality time with your kids until the bye week. You're getting ready to lock yourself into training camp, 4 to 6 weeks of mental and physical combat to get your body ready for 5 months of an NFL season. And it's a mental thing that you have to go places in your brain that you don't have to go there if you're just working out. And one of the biggest things that I know can't be duplicated, my training staff. I continued to work out with them, but they couldn't get me to do the things that they forced me to do when I was playing. And it was a typical, my Ron D'Angelo, the first guy ran my first facility we opened in Florida. He had one trigger. He would call me at 6. And if I didn't answer after the first ring, he would call me again. And he would say, you need to get your ASS up because the greatest receiver in football, Jerry Rice, will be up in 3 hours training. And he won't be making any excuses. And you know what? Regardless of the aches, the pains, everything I had, that was my trigger. Man, I got to get up before Jerry Rice because he's already better than me. I can't let him work out and me not work out. And that type of mentality can't be duplicated. And we can't. There's a process to everything in life. There's certain things can't be shortchanged, can't be a shortcut. And being a great NFL player, man, Gronk's one of the greatest. He's in the conversation of the greatest who ever played his position. And now we're getting ready to microwave that? He's getting ready to go out there, and his number one asset is not his brain, it's his body, and he's getting ready to disregard that? Oh, no. Gronk, take some advice from me, man, all right? I ended up in the hospital, man. Kidneys not working, not functioning. No, this is not the NBA. You're not going out there to play 36 holes of golf. You can really get hurt. And you respect the process. You build yourself into a great player. No, man. Listen to people who know. I wish someone would have told me that. I would have kept my butt on TV.
Would you have listened?
Absolutely. If someone would have told me what the...
Yeah.
It wasn't just your kidneys. You got a lacerated spleen, right?
Yeah, the Dolphins happened to be, man. They were 45 minutes from my house.
Yeah.
And
nice. And they offered you a big bag of money.
It was a seven figure.
We gotta go.
I had to go get that bag, man.
We're back right after this.
It ain't changed. We didn't even call it a bag then. We just called it the money.
Yeah.
Time for stories to start your morning according to reports.
Do you got to think before you speak?
Kawhi, and that's the problem. Kawhi Leonard planned on meeting with the Knicks on Wednesday. Apparently, they turned down an interview. What is going on with Kawhi for fear of missing out on other free agent targets? CC, did the Knicks make the right move turning Kawhi down for a meeting?
I mean, it took a set now. For them to be able to do this, like this really took some gumption, I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Temerity.
Yeah.
Temerity is a way to put it.
Oh.
Yeah, listen, if they'd have called you, if they would have, and said, hey, we can meet with Kawhi, but we got to wait till Wednesday. What are our chances? What would you have told him?
I wouldn't wait. Looking at the group of free agents that already were going to sign with the news of KD and Kyrie, I would not have waited. I would not have taken that chance because Kawhi had told everyone else, regardless of meeting with you, that being the Clippers, Lakers, I'm going to meet with New York teams, but also Toronto. So they knew it was going to be at least Thursday-ish, Friday before they'd have some type of answer.
If they had waited, they'd be in the position the Lakers in as far as how are we going to fill out some of this cap space. They wouldn't have gotten the guys they got, which is Ellington, Taj Gibson, Reggie Bullock, Bobby Portis. The argument to wait is maybe they'd have been better off not signing 3 or 4 of those guys anyway. And if you even just have a 2% chance at Kawhi Leonard, I think you go for it. But I think they feel it was closer to a 0% chance.
Yeah, I think the Knicks made a good decision.
All right, yesterday there was reportedly no market for Demarcus Cousins, but recent reports have DeMar DeRozan recruiting Boogie to San Antonio to play with the Spurs. Nick, would Cousins be a good fit there?
This would be great. And I think if Boogie's not going to get paid somewhere, go somewhere you can win that fits your style of play. Now, I know that the Spurs aren't going to just dump it down low in that regard, but he's such a good passer for his position. And no one in sports, the Kawhi Leonard situation notwithstanding, can be a better person to vouch for you moving forward than Greg Popovich. If he plays well and is a good citizen in San Antonio, getting that pop stamp of approval when he finally next year tries to get a real contract, that could be great for him. And right now, the Spurs starting center, I believe, is Jakob Poeltl. Like, they could use a center there as well.
And there's only a few coaches that have that clout. We know Pop has it. Nick Saban has it. Urban Meyer, he had that at Ohio State. So, yes. But what I think from a basketball standpoint, not only do they need a center, but let's not forget, Golden State is a version of San Antonio. As far as passing the ball, their overall movement, that's where Steve Kerr got it from. Now, they never had the shooters, as in Steph and Clay. But from an X's and O's standpoint, that's where the system comes from.
All right, moving on, talk some Boston Celtics. Different vibe in Boston this year. Hey, the Celtics of last season do not look like the Celtics of this coming season. Kyrie Irving is in Brooklyn. Terry Rozier is in Charlotte. Al Horford is in Philly. Not to worry, though. The Boston Celtics signed Kemba Walker. He got a 4-year, $141 million deal. They also brought in Enes Kanter on a 2-year, $10 million deal. And they'll be happy they didn't have to do a complete rebuild. Nick, do you think the Celtics are better or worse right now?
Obviously, they're worse. And listen, Boston fans, you can make as many edited viral videos of me talking about your team as you want. Doesn't change the facts on the ground. The Boston Celtics plan was Anthony Davis, Kyrie Irving, Al Horford. That has turned into Jason Tatum, Kemba Walker, Enes Kanter. That's a disaster. Now, you were able to flip out Kyrie for Kemba, which I did not think you'd be able to do. I thought Kyrie was going to walk out the door while Celtics were convinced, oh, no, he's committed, he's committed. We've been telling you for a year he was leaving. Now, you got a lesser version of Kyrie and Kemba, and if you think Kyrie was the poison in the locker room, you can maybe even argue that even though Kemba's a lesser player, if he will be a positive in the locker room and you remove what you feel is the poison in the locker room, that one-for-one switch, you came out maybe even ahead. But Enes Kanter for Al Horford is a disaster. Terry Rozier was not very good for you, but you lost him for nothing. You still have the same problem of Tatum, Brown, Hayward. Those are three guys who play two positions. How are we going to make that work? Those things did not go away, and the identity of this team, has been defense. And with Kemba Walker and Enes Kanter as your point guard and center, and you have to go up against Giannis, you have to go up against Embiid and Horford, you have to go up against whomever Toronto brings back, you have no defensive answer. Those are facts. This team last year had the second highest projected win total in all of basketball, behind only Golden State. And next year, they are going to be projected to be about the 11th best team in basketball, 12th best team in basketball, which is about where they will be. So, of course, they are worse than they were last season.
Yeah, of course they're worse, but I believe there's four people it puts an extreme amount of pressure on. Number one, it puts a great deal of pressure on Brad Stevens as a head coach. What style am I going to be? What's my coaching reputation going to be? Because I saw, since I've been the coach of the Celtics, last year's roster was the most talented. But also, if you look at his years as a coach, it's also probably the most disappointing that he felt in his staff in conveying their message to the team. Because regardless if you guys talk about leadership, everything gets blamed on Kyrie. Some of that should be blamed on the coach and on the general manager because they the one brought that guy there. So they miscalculated what type of leader that they were bringing into their situation. Also, from a player standpoint, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. You know something? We were slow cooking you guys just on a rotisserie. You know something now? Get ready to put y'all in the microwave because y'all got to play 36 minutes a game on both ends of the court. Outstanding. And also, you have to continue to develop as a leader because now in your third year, you don't have to build blaming on Kyrie. You don't have the stability of Al Horford. And the last one, who I believe is probably the most problematic, and that's Gordon Hayward.
Yeah.
What do you do as a coach with a guy you recruited as a 17-year-old? You make a promise to him and his mom. You know something? I'm going to take care of this guy. Now, you guys go in different directions. You have success in college. Brad goes off to coach the Celtics. Gordon's off building his career, building himself into an all-star. Then they decide to come back together. The tragic event of him being hurt, we can't remove that. But their relationship is real. And if you don't believe that he's getting some more extra minutes because we got history together, you don't realize how life is determined. We give people that we like and people we have a history with, we give them that extra.
More rope, a bigger margin for error.
And now can they afford to do that in year number 3 with Gordon there and with the Celtics?
The one thing we did talk about, one of the issues last year, if you're not going to pin it on Curry, was the fact that so many of these players had different agendas and were going in different. And it's very hard to corral a group like that to get everyone on the same page if you all want different things. Well, this year, the team seems to all want seemingly the same thing, at least on paper. You got guys in there that you would hope want to be there. Don't you think that makes it easier for a guy like Brad Stevens and not more pressure on him?
So I think it might make it easier for him, and it might be back in his comfort zone. But to Chris's point, that does not speak well for the Brad Stevens' long-term projection in this league. I sat here the year before last and said, here's the NBA coaching hierarchy. Pop right here and Brad Stevens right beneath him and gaining fast.
Nick had him breathing on Pop's shoulder.
I absolutely did, because I was so impressed with what he did the year before that with the Isaiah Thomas crew, and then that year with once Kyrie got hurt. I thought Brad Stevens is showing you what he can do without great players. Wait until he gets great players. And then once he got great players, or a great player, it all went to hell. So, yes, but the thing is this, Jenna, we know Brad Stevens is the right coach for this type of Celtic team. But this type of team never wins a championship. 77 champions in NBA history, none of them have been this team right here, where it's Kemba Walker, no defense, young players who aren't quite who they are.
Right.
You have to have elite talent to win championships. We need to wait and see the next time the Celtics have championship-level talent if Brad Stevens is up for that job, because he never had to deal with that at Butler, and he only had to deal with that 1 year in Boston, and it didn't go right.
I know their location is the same, that being Brad Stevens and Bill Belichick, but in pro sports, being football and basketball, there is no one winning championships with less talent than Belichick. And if you think Brad Stevens is going to do that, we're going to get a chance to see it this year. In the NFL, that's the only place that I've seen it happen. You know when the coach is at its best? Man, we ran a play against Dallas one time on Thanksgiving. Dallas knew exactly. Randy Moss was coming in motion. Darren Woodson said, Cris is going to come up and go across the middle, told the safety, I want you to rob it. When I got to the middle, I gave him a head fake and went to the end zone. Brad Johnson pump faked it and threw it to me. Brian Billick, I ran over. He's like, hey, what was that? I was like, that me ad-libbing. He was like, just tell me about it. Brian Billick went on to be the head coach in Baltimore Ravens. You know why? Because he got credit for that. Coaches get credit for great guys doing things under the gun. That's when your coach is great. You know what? When he don't have to call a play. When a guy goes out and shuts down another guy. That's when a coach is at its best. When you're talking about the best of the best in college, you can get away with that. No, not in pros. Only Belichick. I know they got the same address. Maybe you can send him some Cliff Notes or something. But Belichick is the only one who can do more with less.
On Sunday, one of the greatest rivalries in soccer is renewed as the U.S. men's national team takes on arch rival Mexico in the Gold Cup final. It all starts at 8:30 Eastern on FS1 and the Fox Sports app.
That's going to be a tough match.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Back here with Christopher Mannix talking Golden State Warriors. Are you a Christopher?
I am.
Oh, phew. That was close. Perhaps we'll never know the real reason Kevin Durant decided to leave Golden State, but his feud with Draymond Green was rumored to be partially to blame. And while both publicly said they patched things up from their November sideline verbal altercation, it may not be the case. According to Kendrick Perkins, KD never bounced back from the Draymond situation. So, Mannix, who is to blame for Durant's departure?
I don't think that blame is the word I would use in this situation.
I tried to tell them this morning, that's a little strong. I'm so glad.
Whenever a free agent leaves, like whatever the sport is, stuff like this always comes out. Like, here's why they left. Hated coach X, didn't like teammate Y. It's just a long-standing tradition of the aftermath of free agency. My long-standing belief about the Durant situation was he was always a mercenary. And Golden State was never going to be his last stop. Even if they had won a third consecutive championship, I don't believe that Kevin Durant would have been back to try to win 4, 5, or 6 in a row. I believe he went to Golden State for a reason. And as the wandering eye that he is, he was looking in other directions. He was looking for other things in his career as well. I mean, this is a guy that has expanded his business empire significantly over the last couple of years, has looked beyond just basketball. And being in New York, whether it was the Knicks or now ultimately the Nets, gives him those opportunities that are different for him.
So you said he went to Golden State for a reason. What was the reason?
Win a championship.
Yeah.
That was it. Simple.
In winning that championship, the respect that he would be able to get and hopefully be able to get closer to LeBron James. I think you did a great point, a great job of pointing out that, man, athletes, greatest athletes, man, we have people that we target, we model, not only those who have played, but they could be currently playing. I know myself, Michael Irvin, Jerry Rice. Michael Irvin and Jerry Rice always talked about, we love you playing on the East Coast because we watch those games early. They come into the locker room after I played and be like, hey, man, I need to get 5 for 100 because Cris had 2 touchdowns or something like that. Those types of things are real. I think you made a great point as far as informing people in sports. No matter what it is, when a guy leaves, these little things, who's to blame? When typically, sometime, it was just the natural part of their career. And I believe Kevin Durant coming there, the credibility, and I thought he enjoyed the idea or concept of playing with Steph and Clay and the way they played basketball. But then once you get there, it becomes something different.
Listen, if you break up after a fight, you did not break up because of the fight. You broke up because of everything that led to the fight, and the fight was the last straw. The fact that I will not abide, and I'm not, listen, there's certain things about Draymond I really like, certain things about Draymond annoy the hell out of me, but I'm not going to abide this being laid at Draymond's feet. That, if Draymond just had kept his cool, had not called him a B word, if he had just passed the ball to Durant on that fast break in that game against the Clippers, that Durant would still be there, that is nonsense. I'm telling you right now, around 2 years into us doing this show, around 3.5 years into Cris and I knowing each other, if Cris and I, after today's show, had a knockdown drag out, it would not end the partnership. Because the partnership is not holding on for dear life. There is enough, you'd have to get over it, we'd have to whatever it was. But Kevin Durant went to Golden State. He thought, this is where I disagree, he thought he was looking for a championship. Because he thought getting the championship would, A, make him feel some type of way, fulfilled. And B, would also, he already believed, I'm better than LeBron. These jokers in the media won't say it. Let me go win a title, hopefully against LeBron. And then he did it exactly the way he wanted to, winning MVP, hitting the shot. And then these jokers in the media were still like, well, LeBron's the best player. We all know LeBron's the best player. And so he was over. And then Marcus Thompson writes, and the other thing that he really wanted was a close, deep, almost familial friendship with someone on the team, and that didn't come either. So you had Kevin Durant, after that first title, feeling almost, according to the people that know him, worse than before, because he actually finally grasped the thing he wanted and realized, well, if that don't make me feel whole, then what the hell can? Which is why during year 2, we now know they were worried he was going to be out the door, and why when he came back after year 2, after another title, if Howard Beck knows he and Kyrie were talking about teaming up, of course the Warriors knew that Draymond 2 weeks into the season would be like, man, just leave. If you're going to be all in your feelings about not getting the ball, just leave already. And so it was Kevin Durant was searching for something he did not ultimately find. And I do not begrudge him that. But the idea that we're going to blame someone for Kevin Durant making the choice that he thinks will make him happy or fulfilled or fill up whatever is empty, that's unfair to Draymond and other people.
Mannix, what do you think he's searching for now? What is he looking for when he goes to Brooklyn? Is it the same thing?
He's going to get 2 things right off the bat. When he steps back onto the floor, it's going to be his team. Like, the Brooklyn Nets are going to be his team. And I think Kyrie Irving is fine with that, because Kyrie Irving kind of realized the last couple of years the value of having somebody else be the alpha on that team. He's going to get to play with a close friend that he has a close relationship with already. So those 2 things immediately become things that maybe he didn't have with the Golden State Warriors. But it's interesting to talk about the familial relationships they didn't have. He had all that in Oklahoma City. Like, he had, maybe not with Russell Westbrook necessarily at the end, but like Nick Collison was like his best friend there. And they had a bunch of guys that worshiped at the altar of Kevin Durant. That whole organization builds itself as a family thing. I'm with you. Kevin Durant breaking up with the Warriors, there doesn't have to be a flashpoint. It doesn't have to be the fault of one guy or 2 guys or one relationship. Maybe Kevin Durant just knew, like I kind of felt like I knew, that he wasn't going to be a Golden State Warrior for the rest of his career. This was always a mercenary situation. Had a purpose, it served its purpose, and now he's on to the next thing.
I think at the beginning, he felt unfulfilled because he didn't feel like there's something he could do to rival how they felt about Steph. And just how in OKC, no matter what he did, they wouldn't feel about him the way they felt about Russ.
You think that's true, though? Like
the Russ part?
That they wouldn't feel that, like they would always be more of allegiance to Russ than KD if they both were there?
Well, I just heard behind the scenes, KD had that feeling about Russ, and him and Russ weren't as close as people make it out.
That's true.
To be.
To add to that, in that last year when Billy Donovan took over Scott Brooks when he was there, the dynamic changed a little bit. You know, I think one of Scott Brooks' greatest strengths was that he was able to kind of keep everybody in line and keep things on an equal playing field. I think it did tilt towards Russ in that last year in Oklahoma City.
Right. Now, I don't know this. I can just talk from people who've experienced. The great Walter Payton, after all those years of struggling with the Chicago Bears, they finally win the Super Bowl, beat the New England Patriots. William the Refrigerator scores a touchdown. Walter doesn't score a touchdown, but they ask him after the game, after all these years of training, all this, what does it feel like to be a champion? And he said, I have to tell you the truth. I thought it was more to it than that. And there's a lot of guys that win championships, and they believe that that's going to be the moment for them. And then you realize you wake up the next day and you still have human issues. And to me, with Kevin Durant, it was about respect, and people were never going to respect him on the same level that they respected Steph Curry. And I'm cool with that. If he wants his own team, I'm fine with that. But I just believe him and Kyrie are more kindred spirits and on the same level than the relationship he had in OKC and the one he had with Steph.
All right, we are on what feels
Chicken tortilla.
like day 185 of the Kawhi watch. Just feels that way. He touched down in Toronto yesterday, reportedly met with the Raptors to discuss possibly going back to Toronto. See, you had the latest update last night. You tweeted a lot of premature reports out there. Kawhi has not made his decision yet. All three teams are still in it. Yes, Lakers and Clippers are still in play, and I'm 100% certain of this. I wouldn't hold my breath on getting an answer anytime soon. Kawhi still undecided. Mannix, where do you think Kawhi should play next season?
Do you want to weigh in first there?
I was saying those were the exact words. Oh, that's a hell of a report. Okay. But those are the exact words that someone conveyed to me. The only thing in there for me, Nick, is the emoji, the 100%.
The 100 emoji. Chris is staying young with the emojis, man.
By the way, how great was the car chase scene yesterday in Toronto? Like, this was like...
Someone from Kawhi's team did make a reference to the last great car chase that we've seen when they were in Southern California. They said it was similar.
It was a little too reminiscent. All right, so Mannix, where should he go?
I think he should stay in Toronto for multiple reasons. I think, honestly, I think winning a championship is hard. And if you're going to say which situation presents Kawhi Leonard with the best chance to win at least one more championship, I think you'd have to say it's Toronto. Because we don't know what the Lakers are going to be. We know what the Raptors are, right? And if Kawhi Leonard goes back to the Raptors, they would be, I think, the favorite to repeat with that group. You go to the Lakers, and you have maybe the best big three in NBA history. But you've got one facet of that big three. It's a little on the older side. And you've got some personalities there that we don't know yet if they're going to mesh. Plus, you have the rest of the roster to fill out, and you have the coaching situation. How is that going to work out? We were talking during the break. We've already forgotten about, will Frank Vogel be sitting there with Jason Kidd kind of hovering over his shoulder for the entire season? So I think if it's about championships and having a championship in the hand, I think Toronto offers him the best chance to do it. Throw in all the medical stuff. Chris, you know this better than anybody. The medical stuff is incredibly important, and what the Raptors did with him this past year was remarkable. Keeping him healthy. I know people mock the load management stuff, but 60 games, he was healthy out there on the floor. 24 playoff games, he was out there on the floor. Their team physician, Alex McKechnie, he is a terrific, terrific doctor. I think all these things make it better for Kawhi Leonard to go back to Toronto.
If I was making the case for Toronto, I would start right there as far as the medical staff and that experience journey they went to together. And I'm just going to point to, in the playoffs, when Kawhi was hampered, I knew because they conveyed to me that he trusts them, but for him to play injured after missing almost all of last season, that type of trust, and you're on the last, I mean, you're less than weeks from free agency.
That was evidence of how much he trusted them.
I mean, him to keep pushing through, him to keep logging all those minutes, and trust me, from talking to the team around Kawhi, it was game to game as far as how healthy he was going to be. And that type of trust extended when I don't have a deal. And then you know what he saw with his own eyes? He saw Klay and Kevin Durant get hurt. He was on that court. That affected Kawhi Leonard. And that's what makes this decision more difficult. Not only are there two viable teams in LA, but what happened with Toronto, he just can't let that go.
And to your point about the injury, from the conference finals on, which I was covering, Danny Green would tell me that they would walk up to him every day, be like, are you okay? Can you go out there and play every single game? So this was a significant injury. The other variable in all this that has to be considered is, who does Kawhi trust in the front office? Which team's infrastructure do you believe in?
Well, the Lakers are last on that list.
Right, the last list. But and then that's a variable in all this.
Of course,
as you're trying to build out your career, Masai Ujiri has shown him that he can build a championship-level team. So we're talking now about the Raptors roster. A lot of last year in their deal guys going to a Kyle Lowry's there, Marc Gasol's there, Serge Ibaka's there. You have to have a lot of trust in your front office and in Masai Ujiri to take those pieces and revamp them. I think you have a comparable, maybe not comparable, but you can have some faith in the Clippers because of what they've done over the last 2 years.
And in the Lakers, that's their biggest weakness. And it is without question their biggest weakness is front office stability, coaching staff questions, and just general competence as far as the people that wear suits to work instead of jerseys to work. I get that part of it. And I want to make this clear, and the audience might not believe me on this, but I will take a polygraph to this effect. I am rooting for Kawhi to stay in Toronto. I think LeBron and Anthony Davis can win a title without him, and there would be no asterisk associated with it. There would be no questions. There would be because if Kawhi picks the Lakers, he's not going to catch the heat. Bizarrely, it'll be about LeBron. It'll be somehow LeBron was supposed to recruit him, but not recruit him, and all of this. So
but this I do know to be true. Even if it wasn't LeBron and Anthony Davis, if it was some other star in LA, if it was Paul George and Anthony Davis, Nick would not be trying to get that star because Nick's talking about the NBA.
Right.
He loves the NBA and he wants it to be balanced out.
And even though we've had over the last 12 years 8 different NBA champions, in the era of Super Team, we've actually had a lot of different teams win the title.
Still didn't have a feeling of parity.
That's surprising.
It's crazy, right? Ever since this Big Three in Boston came together 12 years ago, we've had 8 different champions. And so we have had actual parity to a degree, but it hasn't felt suspenseful. Like this year, we thought we knew who the champion was. The Raptors injuries and things happened. But I would love, for the first time since 2005 maybe, to go into a season with
no
really
idea
no
who's
idea.
gonna win.
With a third of the league feeling like they are viable, true championship contenders. So I think the Lakers will still win the title without Kawhi. Where I vehemently disagree with you is, if it is just about, if the most important thing to Kawhi is, where can I win a championship? Where do I have the best chance to win multiple championships? Then it's a no-brainer. It is Los Angeles. Because even with the questions of front office, LeBron's already there. Anthony Davis is already there, about to sign a long-term deal. You would come together with the most talented Big Three we have had in this league, arguably of all time, and there are no 10-year contracts. Right. He could sign a 2+1 in LA, so he could potentially hit free agency in year 10 where he can make the most money. And if LeBron is really on the downside, or if their franchise in disarray, go elsewhere. The best place to win titles is Los Angeles with the Lakers. The best place for the league is with Toronto.
I think there has the number of years in the contract. He could sign a 5-year deal and have like an understanding with whoever he signs with. If it's the Raptors, he could say, look, if it's not working out, you deal me, we move on down the line. All I'll say about the Lakers is that if he goes there, and he very well could, it would be antithetical to everything I know about Kawhi Leonard. Because Kawhi firmly believes, wherever he is, San Antonio, Toronto, he could be in Memphis, that when he steps out on the floor, he's the best player on the floor. And when his team is out there, they can beat anybody, no matter who else is up against them.
Right, but he has to go to the Lakers a year ago before any other team, before they had those guys. So that was his preference before. So the idea that they are hurt by having Anthony Davis.
Could they be, though?
Maybe.
I believe that the meeting with LeBron and LeBron telling him, I'm going to step back, that helped Kawhi get a little more comfortable.
Thank you for listening to the First Things First podcast. Remember, leave us a review and tell us what you think. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts and catch us on FS1 Monday through Friday, 6:30 a.m. Eastern. For Cris Carter and Nick Wright, I'm Jenna Wolfe. So long, everybody.